For centuries, the sea has held a primal fascination, a vast, often unforgiving expanse where human ingenuity pits itself against the dangers of nature. Woven into the fabric of maritime history are stories that defy understanding. Stories of ships found abandoned, their crews vanished, leaving behind an unsettling silence. These are the legends of ghost ships, and perhaps one of the more perplexing and thoroughly investigated mysteries of all time is the one we will be discussing today. A mystery that has haunted coastal Carolina for over a century. This is the story of the five-masted schooner Carroll A. Deering. This isn't just a story of the unexplained, this is a story that dives deep into the enigma of shipwrecks, ghost ships, and these mysteries we have on our seas. This is a story about a ghost ship and a crew that vanished into thin air. Our story begins not with a mystery, but with a magnificent vessel, the Carroll A. Deering. This was a state-of-the-art five-masted commercial schooner built in 1919 by the G.G. Deering Company in Bath, Maine. Bath, known as the City of Ships, was a hub of shipbuilding innovation, and the Deering was a testament to American maritime prowess. She was a grand ship, measuring 187 feet long with a 38-foot beam. She could carry over 2,500 tons of cargo. In the era before widespread steam and diesel engines, these multi-masted schooners represented the pinnacle of sailing technology for cargo transport. They were efficient, robust, and capable of traversing vast distances. The Carroll A. Deering was destined for a life of trade, carrying bulk goods up and down the Atlantic seaboard and across to the Caribbean. Her early voyages were uneventful, a typical life for a working sailing ship. The ship was owned by the G.G. Deering Company. Her initial captain was William B. Wormel. It could also be pronounced Wormel, I don't really know. However, for the fateful voyage that would etch her name into maritime lore, she was helmed by a new captain, Captain William Merritt. Captain Merritt was an experienced mariner, a man of the seas through and through. But before the ship even left port for this particular journey, there was already whispers of trouble. In late August of 1920, the Carroll A. Deering embarked from Norfolk, Virginia, bound for Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, with a cargo of coal. On board were 11 men. Captain W. Merritt, the master of the vessel, was an older, somewhat ailing man. His first mate was Charles B. Miller. The crew also included engineers Henry Bates and Alfred Bates, not related. From the outset, this voyage was plagued with friction. Rumors circulated that Captain Merritt had fallen ill shortly before departure, suffering from heart problems. Despite the internal strife, the Deering made it to Rio de Janeiro, unloaded her cargo, and took on new orders. She departed Rio in early December 1920, now sailing northbound for the coal port of Newport News, Virginia, for new cargo. This leg of the journey would be her last. The ship encountered heavy storms off Cape Hatteras, a notoriously treacherous stretch of coastline known as the Graveyard of the Atlantic. The first crucial piece of the puzzle comes on January 29, 1921. The Carroll A. Deering was spotted by the crew of the Cape Fear lightship off the coast of North Carolina. It was observed sailing north, seemingly still on course. The weather was rough, but nothing out of the ordinary for the area. At this point, everything appeared normal. The very next day, January 30th, the Deering was spotted again, this time by the Diamond Shoals lightship, anchored by the treacherous Outer Banks. The encounter would become central to the mystery. The keeper of the Diamond Shoals lightship, Thomas Jacobson, noted the Deering sailed north with all sails set, but something was amiss. A man described as having red hair and speaking with a Scandinavian accent hailed the lightship through a megaphone. He claimed the ship had lost its anchors and requested that the lightship relay this information to the ship's owner. Jacobson found this request strange. Ships typically report such issues directly by radio. More troubling, the crew on the Deering's quarterdeck, usually a very busy place, were clustered together in a way Jacobson found unsettling. He tried to respond, but the rough seas and the wind made communication difficult. Before he could fully assess the situation, the Carroll A. Deering had sailed on, disappearing into the mist and rough weather. Jacobson reported this strange encounter to his superiors, noting the odd behavior. This would be the last confirmed sighting of the Carroll A. Deering and her crew while the ship was under sail. For days after the Diamond Shoals sighting, nothing was heard from the Carroll A. Deering. Then, on January 31st, 1921, a surfman from the United States Coast Guard found the five-masted schooner run aground and abandoned. She was lodged firmly, sails torn, but seemingly intact. Resting on the dangerous shoals of Cape Hatteras was a five-masted schooner waiting to go home. A Coast Guard salvage team, led by Captain Carroll G. Hellickson, boarded the vessel on February 4th after several attempts thwarted by the rough seas. What they found deepened the mystery significantly. The ship was deserted. Every single crew member was gone. The only living thing on board was a cat. All of the ship's navigation equipment, the chronometer, sextant, and the ship's logbook were missing. The lifeboats were also gone. In the galley, food was laid out, suggesting a meal had been interrupted. Personal belongings of the crew were still in their cabins. Nothing of value had been stolen, indicating it wasn't a piratical attack. The ship's papers, the master's personal effects, and the anchors were all gone. The sheer inexplicable absence of all 11 men, without a struggle or clear reason, sent shivers down the spines of the investigators. The U.S. government launched a massive investigation. This investigation involved the Coast Guard, the Department of Commerce, the United States Navy, and the Department of Justice. It was one of the most extensive maritime investigations in American history. Over the next year, numerous theories were explored, including piracy, mutiny, a rogue wave, and even Soviet conspiracy, given the political climate of the time. However, no definitive explanation could be found for the disappearance of the crew. So obviously, now that we've heard the story, we can kind of understand what the baseline is here. There's a lot of theories. As you know, whenever something like this happens, a mystery occurs, somebody goes missing, there's a lot of theories. There's a lot of conspiracy. People have thoughts, they gotta put them somewhere. So, let's go through a couple of the theories that people think might have happened to this ghost ship, the Carroll A. Deering. Diving into some of the theories, and arguably the most plausible, is a mutiny. The strained relationship between Captain Merritt and First Mate Miller, coupled with Miller's reported aggressive behavior and alcoholism, provides a strong motive. The theory suggests that Miller, perhaps with some of the disgruntled crew members, overpowered Captain Merritt. The red-haired man who held the lightship could have been Miller himself, attempting to portray a normal situation while secretly in control. They might have taken to lifeboats, planning to abandon ship and disappear, perhaps heading for a port where they wouldn't be recognized. Another theory that started to gain traction during the Cold War era was Bolshevik revolutionaries taking control and pirating the ship. It was speculated that the crew might have been sympathizers who commandeered the ship, or that the ship was seized by agents. However, there was no concrete evidence to support this, and it seems far-fetched, given the Deering's cargo and route. One final theory is some tried to link the Deering's disappearance with the Bermuda Triangle, though the Deering was outside of what is usually considered within the triangle. The missing anchors are a curious detail. They could have become detached during the storm, or they could have been jettisoned to help set the boat adrift, maybe during a coup attempt. Or maybe they could have been jettisoned as a part of an escape plan. The fact that the ship's log and navigational equipment were taken or missing suggests this act was definitely deliberate. If it were a sudden or catastrophic event, like abandonment during a storm, it is more likely that these items would have been left. To prevent it from becoming a navigational hazard, the Coast Guard eventually dynamited the wreck, and with its destruction, any remaining physical clues that might have solved the riddle we were lost in forever. The case officially closed in 1922, declaring the crew's disappearance unknown. The mystery of the Carroll Deering endures a testament to the sea's ability to overpower and conceal. It is a story that continues to captivate, appearing in books, movies, documentaries, and more. This enigma reminds us that even with experienced crews, the ocean's unpredictable and unprecedented force is not one to be reckoned with. It is capable of swallowing lives and leaving behind only questions. What do you think happened to the crew of the Carroll Deering? Was it a mutiny? Was it a pirate attack? Did they just simply disappear? Drop a comment down below if you have something in mind, or if you have another video idea even. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you really feel like it, and I'll see you next time.